Today on the Rude Drew Says podcast, I'm going to be sharing some words of warning around Black Friday, questioning if spending time on custom thumbnails is actually a waste of time, and other stuff too, so go ahead and stick around. Let's start with my words of warning surrounding Black Friday, and this is something that I try to remember to put out every single year. I just want to remind you, Black Friday was created not to save you money, but in order to get you to buy stuff that you were not planning on buying. The entire goal is to get you to spend more money than you were initially planning to. Now, I will admit, there may be a few good doorbusters, a few good deals. They only have those to get you in the door or to get you on their website. And I have to ask you the question, is the stress of going down to a store, if anybody does that, is the stress of going onto a website and constantly refreshing until it appears, is that worth saving $50 or $100? I'd argue that it's not, but everybody values their time differently. Everybody has different thresholds of acceptable stress levels or acceptable hurdles that they have to jump over to buy something. The moment that I have to jump over hurdles to give a company my money, I just walk away. I say, never mind, you don't want my money. I will oblige. You will not get it. Here's something else that I need to remind people of. If you are buying something that is on sale that you had not been planning on buying, you are not saving money. Spending $300 as opposed to $400 does not inherently mean that you saved $100. All it means is you are wasting less money than the manufacturer typically tries to get out of you. If the MSRP is $400 and you're paying $300, now you're just wasting $300. Assuming you were not planning on buying that thing at $400. If you had been planning on buying it and it goes on sale, then yes, you are saving some money there. And the last reminder that I want to throw out there is just remember that these types of sales typically exist just to trick you into thinking you're getting a good deal, to instill this feeling of FOMO or fear of missing out. I need to click buy right now. It's not going to last forever. And then ultimately the company is just trying to trick you because they're pushing products that they can't get rid of any other time. They need to create this sense of FOMO and this, oh my gosh, I'll never get another deal this good, to get rid of all this crap that nobody really wants. So now I will offer my advice going into Black Friday. I would suggest making a list of everything that you want and or need. Go onto a historical price tracker like Camel, and look up the prices of those items. Then on Black Friday or any other sale day, look at what the price is for those items, and if you find them on sale, then go ahead and pick them up. In that case, you would be saving money, you are getting a good deal, and you know you are getting a good deal. I would advocate against just going to these websites and just browsing all the discounted items, because in many cases they are not discounted. In many cases they are just trying to give you that sense of FOMO to get you to buy a bunch of crap that you do not need. So that is my annual Black Friday reminder. Yes, sales are good if you are getting a discount on something you were going to buy at full price. But in many cases, we're not actually getting a good deal. They're just trying to push stock that hasn't moved. So there you go. That's my anti-consumerist diatribe, I suppose. I am fully aware that entire rant is strange coming from a filthy, free market capitalist pig, but I still don't think you should waste your money. You work hard for those dollars, so don't waste them. Don't give them to a company just because they're giving you the opportunity to. You should spend your money intelligently. You should be frugal and fiscally responsible. Let's jump to I'm not laughing at frugality and fiscal responsibility. If you watch this show, you know I yell about that all the time. I'm laughing at the absurdity of a free market capitalist, a Hayekian, talking about this stuff. It's so stupid. Let's jump to another topic. Over the last week, I have found myself questioning a lot of what I believe. Have I been wasting my time creating custom thumbnails for my YouTube videos? The reason I have been questioning this, last week I spent an hour trying to come up with a thumbnail for the podcast. I couldn't come up with a thumbnail that I thought encapsulated the topics that were discussed in the episode. I couldn't come up with one that I thought popped or looked really good. So I thought, I haven't done this in years. Let's just let YouTube auto-select the thumbnail from the actual episode. And it's just a still frame. There's no text. There's nothing eye-catching about it. But I wanted to see how this performed. And I let that run for the last week just as an experiment to see how it did. And I went into my YouTube analytics and I compared episode 408, which was last week's episode, against the prior 5 episodes to see how it did in terms of impressions, click-through rate, and then ultimately views. I compared the impressions of 408 against the prior 5 episodes, and one of the episodes tied almost directly to it. That was the benefit of 3-minute shorts. And the reason I find this comparison so interesting is I spent a lot of time on that thumbnail. I think that thumbnail is fantastic. It encapsulates exactly what that episode is about. And both of these episodes got not a nearly identical. There's about a 1,200, 1,500 impression delta, but a close enough amount of impressions to make them comparable. Then when we look at the click-through rate for both episodes for the same time frame since published, so for about 7 days, the delta between the click-through rate is 0.2%. So 3.9% for the YouTube selected thumbnail, the still frame, and 4.1% for the episode where I spent an hour and a half making that thumbnail. Now, it's not a direct comparison because my podcast episodes, the views, the impressions, the click-through are very dependent on the topics within the episode, so it's hard to do an apples-to-apples comparison. This is as good as it gets. But the thing that I found most interesting about the comparison is the click-through rate for the first 3 days is nearly identical. We get a spike for day 1, drops a little bit for day 2, and then day 3 drops a little bit more. It is nearly identical. So that just must mean that the same people are watching each episode because there's no other way that they would have the exact same impressions and click-through rate. You would imagine there would be quite significant differences between click-through rate based on the thumbnail, based on the length, and based on the topics within the episode, but they are almost the exact same. And looking at the other 4 videos that I compared it against, they're not as similar. Let's say that. They're not as similar because that's proper English, but they're quite similar. They show a similar trend to episode 408. So this has left me wondering if spending an hour a week on a thumbnail is even worth it at this point. I understand having a custom thumbnail that is eye-catching should have an impact on click-through rate and then in turn views, but I don't see that. I don't see any significant delta between the automatically generated thumbnail and the thumbnails that I spent an hour trying to make. Or actually making. I didn't try to make them. I did make them because they exist. My AC just turned on. No! My AC, I'm going to shut that off. 1 sec. So in my head, it seems like having a good custom thumbnail ought to improve a video's performance, but I am not seeing that improvement in performance in views, in impressions, or in the click-through rate, which is exactly where you should be seeing that benefit. So perhaps the custom thumbnail just doesn't matter on long-form videos that cover 6, 7, 10 topics, because you're going to have such a big difference in watch time depending on what somebody comes for, and that's going to have a direct impact on a video's performance. Also, my click-through rate across all of my channels has always been fairly low, typically sub 5%, and that's on Podcastage, that's on BSP, that's on all of my channels. So it could just be that I suck at making thumbnails. So maybe that's another contributing factor here. My thumbnails are just garbage. I think they're pretty good. But based on the CTR that I see, maybe I am just coping. So I went ahead and today, when I started preparing for this episode, I uploaded the best thumbnail that I had from last week's episode. So I'm going to go ahead and watch that over the next week. As soon as I added the thumbnail, my CTR dropped from 4% down to 3.9%. So we will see what happens there, because we have a week of data with the auto-generated still frame from the video, and next week we will have 1 week of data with a custom thumbnail that is, it's not my best work. It's fine. It's tolerable. But it's not a still frame. So we'll see. I would love to know what all of you have experienced in this regard. With custom thumbnails, do you actually see an improvement in click-through rate, view duration, views, impressions? What is your experience here? Because I am finding data that would contradict what I would expect. And again, it could just be because I suck at what I do. I'm not sure. So I would love to hear some experience from you, and we can build more on this idea. I know thumbnails do matter. I just don't see it. That is all that I had for rants and talks and news and all of that stuff. Let's jump to what I've been testing. I am on the Neumann, hello Neumann, U87AI, just because it was on the mic stand, it was set up. And I just like how this thing sounds. So we are going to stick with it, and we'll jump to what you had to say. And how fitting that I am using this microphone to address this first comment, which comes from Knightsheart69, Noise29. They say, if you buy a microphone over $600, you got ripped off. Knightsheart, thank you very much for the comment, and thank you for sharing your opinions and thoughts here. I disagree. I will say that you can make a great sounding recording with a microphone that is $600 or less. That is undeniable. There are fantastic sounding microphones that are sub $600. That too is undeniable. I will also point out that if you don't see value in spending over $600 on a microphone, then cool. It may be a ripoff to you, but that doesn't mean that spending more than $600 on a microphone is a ripoff to everybody. If a microphone is over $600, but it allows you to simplify your workflow and save time every single time you record, then it very easily could be worth that additional capital investment. Let's go ahead and try to quantify this. Let's say you buy a $3,600 microphone, and it shaves off 10 minutes of processing every time you record. Then let's say you record 6 times a week. That means every week you're saving 60 minutes. If we assume your hourly rate is $100, you save $100 a week. We're using these numbers just to simplify the calculations. Within 1 year, how much money does that save you in relationship to your time? You're saving 52 hours with an hourly rate of $100. You have saved $5,200. So in this very simplified formula, it's clear to me that investing in that higher quality and higher dollar amount microphone is actually worth it for this hypothetical individual because they saved enough time to justify that additional cost. They saved $5,200 and spent $3,600 or $3,700. So depending on how you value your time, depending on what your hourly rate is, and if that is factoring into the calculation of whether or not you're going to invest in a piece of equipment, I think it can very easily be worth it to invest in a high dollar microphone if it does simplify your workflow or if it saves you some time, because those are two very important aspects in gear selection. Also, there are plenty of people who get creatively inspired based on the gear they are using. To draw a parallel here, you hear this all the time in the guitar world. I picked up that guitar and there were songs in it. As soon as I picked up that guitar, the songs just flowed out like they were waiting to be discovered. I think the exact same thing can apply to microphones. If you're monitoring yourself while singing or speaking or anything, and you don't like how you sound, maybe you aren't going to come across confident, maybe you will just lose the inspiration for recording. But if you put on headphones and you listen back and you love how you sound on that microphone, you may be inspired to try things that you wouldn't normally try. You may be inspired to record a way that you wouldn't normally record. So I think that even the creative inspiration behind the gear selection can be another reason why some microphones that are in excess of $600 may not be a ripoff. Because it could be not necessarily a muse, but it could be a source of inspiration or a source of confidence, knowing that you sound good on a microphone, knowing that a microphone is going to give you that sound that you're looking for, or the sound that your client is looking for, that your client needs. Those are all more tangible or quantifiable aspects to high-priced microphones. Another option is maybe you just have the money and you enjoy using nice gear. Maybe you just like the U87, you like the history behind it, you like using a microphone that was used on record X, Y, or Z. If you enjoy it and you're not going into debt to buy it, another opportunity to get on my set. Don't go into debt to buy audio gear. Is if you enjoy it, maybe it's not a ripoff to you. Maybe it's not. So although I understand why you may think spending more than $600 on a microphone is a ripoff to you, I disagree with the blanket statement that if you spend more than $600 on a microphone, you got ripped off. I think that is very short-sighted. I think that is very, very narrow-minded. I think everybody is looking for different things out of their gear. Everybody has different budgets. And every single different project has different needs. So I don't agree with that blanket statement. And case in point, maybe some people would look at the U87 and say, you're recording a podcast, that's a waste of money. I've used this microphone in probably 200 videos, 300 videos at this time. No, it's got to be more than that because it's in every single microphone comparison, and I must have used this in 50, 60 podcast episodes, so I would say I have gotten my money's worth out of this microphone, even though I do not need this. I do not need this. And I understand, I want to drive home this point as well. You do not need to spend more than $500 on a microphone. I made an entire video. I discussed it in depth last week. The law of diminishing returns. You can get by with a $100 dynamic microphone. 99% of people will think it sounds fine and have no complaints. With condenser mics, I would say that cutoff is $500 to $600, where you just get fantastic audio and 99% of people will not notice or give a heck about the difference. Once you get above that, you may get better sound quality. It may be more what you're looking for. It may save you time. which is valuable, but the end consumer likely won't notice and likely won't care. Thank you very much, Knight's Heart, for the thoughts and allowing me to get on a soapbox. I love ranting, hence my soliloquy podcast. Next, we have a comment from TJ Zuppa, and he says, "You are very brave every time you jump into your YouTube stats. The analytics function should be rebranded. Do you want to get your feelings hurt today?" TJ, thank you very much for the comment, and I agree, looking at the YouTube analytics is a great way to bring you back down to earth. It's a great way to ensure that you are not getting too full of yourself and to ensure that you do not have an ego. Are you becoming too content in your life? Do you like the person you're becoming? Have you developed any amount of self-confidence? YouTube analytics. You'll hate yourself real quick. In reality, I did go through a moment of crisis a couple of years ago where I had to let my ego kind of die because the analytics on my main channel post-COVID were awful or are discouraging, soul-crushing, whatever descriptor you want to use. They are not good. And that is never something that anybody who creates something wants to see. When you are putting your heart and soul into something, you want to see, oh, people enjoy that, because when the performance of that piece of art, maybe it's a bit presumptuous to call my reviews art, when something that I have made doesn't do well and I put myself into it, it's kind of a rejection of you. People don't like what you did. People don't like you because that video is you. So when you experience that, you kind of have to let that ego die. You have to not necessarily disassociate, but not tie your self-worth, not tie your confidence, not tie your happiness to something that is completely and utterly out of your control. So I had a couple of options once I started to see this decrease in analytics, which I know is not exclusive to me. A lot of people have seen that exact same thing. Number one, I could allow the analytics and the decrease therein to make me a miserable person, make me unhappy, make me hate making videos, and just crumble into a shell of hatred. Or I could just accept the fact that not every single YouTuber will be able to create videos forever. The vast majority of YouTubers will inevitably fade into irrelevance. So I could just continue to make the videos that I set out to make them as well as I am able to, and enjoy the process. I chose option 2, and I love it. Over the last year and a half, I have really focused more on getting the creative fulfillment out of making those review videos because it can be very redundant. I'm sure many of you have noticed I have spent a lot more time on the music portion. That's because I get so much enjoyment and fulfillment out of making a piece of music that I think sounds cool, that I think sounds neat. So I went that route. And the reason I think that's important is it is insane to me that any of us, any YouTuber or podcaster would expect that we would or should be able to make videos forever just because we're fortunate enough to work hard, be in the right place at the right time, and get a certain level of success. We shouldn't expect that success to last forever. That's pure arrogance if you think that. I got popular I should be able to make microphone reviews forever and have that same level of success, if not more. That's stupid. If television shows that have hundreds of millions of dollars in budget, that earn hundreds of millions of dollars, and have massive writing teams aren't able to create valuable and entertaining episodes for more than 10 years in most cases, why should any of us expect that us individuals are going to be able to do that? I'm an individual dope in a spare bedroom talking about microphones. Why would I have the expectation that I would be able to do that longer than Friends or Seinfeld or The Big Bang Theory? That's stupid. That's a stupid thought. So I had to go through that process of just letting that idea die. Wasn't fun. Big bummer. But ultimately, I am so much happier having done that. So now I only look at the analytics out of interest, trying to understand how things work on YouTube. And the more that I have done this, the more I've realized I have no idea how anything on YouTube works. I don't know what's important. I don't know what's unimportant. I don't know what leads to a video doing well or doing poorly. I don't know what leads to people clicking on stuff. As other people have shared their analytics with me, the less I understand how anything works. It honestly just seems like a crapshoot to me. It's just gambling. Is this video going to do well? I have no idea. So that is my stance on analytics. I'm not brave or anything. I don't care about them anymore. I spent years caring way too. I don't even have the YouTube Studio app on my phone. I don't care. I'm not going to look at it because what am I going to do with that information? Stress about it. I put all the work that I could into the video, into the thumbnail, making it as good as I possibly could, answering as many questions as I possibly could. My work's done. YouTube will do what YouTube will do with it. That's not proper English, but you get the point. It's out of my hands. I'm not a stoic. I find a lot of online stoicism kind of hard to watch. But if it's out of my control, why am I going to let it ruin my day? I'm only going to allow the stuff that I have direct control over impact me. Because those are situations, those are behaviors that I too can impact. And then in turn, impact my well-being. Impact my mood, impact the rest of my day. I don't know if that made sense or anything, but TJ, thank you for allowing me to get in my soapbox again. Next, we have a comment from Crazy Wabbit. He says, the day the commenter realizes they have the free will to not comment on everything they see that they don't like is the day life improves for everyone, including the commenter. Crazy Wabbit, you just hit the nail right on the head. That is spot on. We do not need to share every single thought, every single idea that we have online. It's okay to remain silent. It's okay not to share everything that runs across your smooth brain. Talking to myself. Once I realized I don't need to leave a comment on every single video that I dislike. I don't need to post every single passing thought that I have on Twitter. I don't need to post every single photo on MySpace or Instagram or write a daily journal on LiveJournal. I became a much happier person. I still catch myself sometimes, to be fully honest, I do still catch myself occasionally writing diatribes in comments, but luckily I have the self-awareness to realize what I am doing. I ask myself, does anybody really care? Does anybody need to see this? The answer in every single instance is no. So I just highlight all of that and delete it. And I do not post it because it does not matter. And that saves me a bunch of time, because most of the time I understand prior to writing a diatribe. And it also saves me headaches, because when I post a negative comment, when I post any comment, sometimes I will get replies and I will get dragged into a flame war. I will get dragged into some kind of debate or argument. And nothing valuable has ever come from an argument in the YouTube comment section. That is a fact. You can put that, that's a law. Nothing valuable has ever come from an argument in the YouTube comment section. Take that to the bank. You can deposit that. You will earn interest on that. It's a law. It's a fact. I do still occasionally, though, leave comments. I try to leave positive comments, though, and I understand most of them are ignored. But as somebody, I know that's cringy to a lot. As a YouTuber, as somebody who looks at a lot of YouTube comments, I understand how much of a discouraging place they can be. So when I see a video that I think is well done, when there's something that I enjoy in a YouTube video, I just like leaving a attaboy, attagirl comment. I don't word it like that because that's weird. Attagirl, attaboy, good job. Way to go, champ. I don't leave comments I just leave positive comments saying, hey, great video. Thanks for sharing. Liked it. That way, amidst all of the, why are you the way that you are? I hate you. Why did you post this video? You found it creative, fulfilling. You're the worst. You ruined my life. Amidst all of that, they see, hey, good job. I know it doesn't help because you could get 100 positive comments. That 101st that calls you a fat idiot loser is the one that's going to stick with you, and you're going to remember that 10 years down the road. One of my first videos, it's a little different. One of my first videos I posted was, if I see this white boy, I'm going to rob his ass. That still sticks with me. But that's kind of for personal safety. So anyway, thank you very much, Crazy Wabbit. Let's go to the next comment from Obscure Mikes. He says, I like to call this version of you Dark Bandrew. I like it. Bark, thank you very much for the comment, and thank you for making it a positive comment. Now I don't hate myself. Truthfully, I almost didn't post last week's episode, even though I recorded it twice. When I was done editing, I found myself thinking, this is kind of mean-spirited. This seems like a kind of mean episode, and does this comment even warrant this level of discussion? It probably didn't. It probably didn't require or warrant that kind of response. So it would have been fine and probably preferable to not publish the episode. But I enjoy discussing that aspect of YouTube and content in general, not just the creation aspect, but also the expectations from the consumer side of things, from the viewer side of things. Because I think we as content creators, as YouTubers, ought to be making videos that we enjoy, of course, that we get fulfillment out of course, but that also serves that viewer, that serves people. So understanding viewers as well is really important. And I just like getting on a soapbox and ranting. But that is something that we have all felt at some point, what I believe that commenter was getting at. This kind of anger or disgust or this sense of wasted time by clicking on something or watching something that was not what you were expecting. We have all loved a movie that has been remade, and then when we watch the remake, we think, that sucks. Why would you do that? You have ruined my childhood. You're a terrible human being. Why would you do that? Maybe they just didn't make the movie for us. Maybe they just didn't make the song for us. Maybe that video wasn't for us. Maybe that podcast wasn't for us. For me, the moment that I felt that was Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. For many people, it was Star Wars. It was the prequels. It was the new Star Wars. Why would you do that? Why would you make that? Why would you remake that? Why would you make that decision with the story? Why would you make the character do that? I hate this so much. And I loved what you had done in the past. This is the worst. So last week I did focus on a single commenter, but it's something that I have done before as well. George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, why would you make Indiana Jones survive a nuclear bomb blast hiding in a refrigerator? That is absurd and ridiculous. Granted, I didn't write them and tell them that was stupid, but I still had the thought. And going back and rewatching The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, I didn't hate it. It was fun. Once I removed it from the first 3 Indiana Jones movies, it was just a silly, fun action adventure that doesn't need to make sense. Sure, Shia LaBeouf can swing from vines like a monkey. Why not? Sure, Indiana Jones can survive a nuclear bomb blast in a refrigerator. Why not? If you suspend your disbelief for a little bit, it can still be fun, even if it doesn't live up to what the original movies were. Same thing goes for Star Wars. I rewatched the prequels. I'm going to get hate for this. I didn't hate them. I enjoyed them. I thought they were perfectly fine. I know. So thank you very much, Bark from Obscure Mics. Go ahead and subscribe to his channel. Great channel focused on, you guessed it, obscure mics. Lastly, we have a comment from VG Screens, and he says, Bandrew, maybe not every comment is made for you. Lol, I'm so kidding. Smiley face with tongue sticking out. VG Screens, thank you for the comment, and you are exactly right. Not every comment is made for me, although if a comment is posted on one of my videos, couldn't I argue that it is made for me? Because they're commenting directly at me, so it's made for me. Should I read all of them? Probably not. Do I need to respond to all of them? Definitely not. Do I need to make podcast episodes focused on rebutting what I believe this individual is saying? No, I don't need to do that. That was a silly thing to do. And not every comment is made for me. Except the ones posted on my channel, I will do with them what I want. I will scream about them, I will rant about them, and I will denigrate every single person that I will do my best not to do that. I don't like being a negative person. My nose is runny. This is driving me crazy. But I don't like being a mean person. But apparently I'm a rude person, which is something that I learned very recently. I make rude comments. Okay, that is it for the What You Had to Say. I don't think I'm on mic. I'm putting my handkerchief back in my back pocket. That is it for What You Had to Say. We are now jumping to the value for value section because this is a V for V podcast. What that means, I do not put this behind a paywall. I do not put ads on it. I just shove this show out there, and if you get any value out of it, I ask you return that, whether it be time, talent, or treasure. This is a funding method that I stole from the No Agenda guys, a political commentary show, a news deconstruction show, and I stole it from them. Yoink! That is mine now. Thank you very much. If you want to support the show, you can do it on YouTube via Super Thanks, or you can go to podcastage.com/donate. That has much lower fees than YouTube. You can still list what channel you're supporting, Podcastage or the BSP, and you could include your note, your credit name, all of that. Or you could send this episode episode to somebody who may enjoy it, somebody who may benefit from it. I know a lot of people don't have the disposable income, especially in this economy. I understand that. So sharing this show is a great way to support it without any kind of financial input. Because I get it. I totally get it, man. Eggs are how much? Bread is how much? Frozen veggies are what? An apple is what? I get it. We have one super thanks this week coming from Obscure Mics again. $25 USD. He says, thank you for the care package. Bark, thank you very much for the $25, and you are very welcome. I was going through, I reorganized my home to try to limit the amount of infringement on my living space that the YouTube microphone locker has taken. I wanted to limit that, so while I was reorganizing, I noticed I had a couple of duplicates, and I thought, who better deserving of these duplicates than Bark? So I just said, hey, Bark, microphones. So, yep. Anything that I can do to ensure that the Obscure Mic content is still being slung. Sling in that tent, Bark. Heck to the yeah. That is it for the value for value section. Thank you again, Bark. Thank you to everybody who has supported this show, helps keep the lights on, keep the hosting bills paid, all of that. Really do appreciate you. And if you enjoy this show being ad-free and not having any kind of paywalled content, it is thanks to the incredible support of people like Bark and TechMed, Raina, Richter. Last week he sent in two super thanks, €250 submissions, and I think one was meant for this week, but I included both of them last week. My bad. So him as well. Everybody who supported it really does help keep this show running. We do not have any Ask Bandrew, but we are jumping to the weekly recommendation algorithm once I take a sip of water. My recommendation this week is the band Bayside, and two albums in particular. Their album Interrobang from 2019 and their album There Are Worse Things Than Being Alive from 2024. Let me explain why these are my picks. The last couple of weeks have been crazy for me. For many a reason, personal life stuff, work stuff, it has been bonkers. During the day, I have been so busy at work. I have not been able to listen to a single podcast because that takes too much brain power. Yeah, you find yourself wanting to listen to what they're saying and wanting to internalize it. So I have just reverted to having background music on. And for the last 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, I have just had these two albums almost on repeat the entire time. I would classify this as being sad boy music because the lyrics can be quite self-loathing. They can be quite depressing. They can be about failed relationships, all the typical sad boy stuff. The music is very punk rock. It's upbeat. It's very aggressive, but it also has some metal influence because their lead guitarist is just, for a punk band, he has technical proficiency that is, I don't want to say unmatched, but it is rare to find in a punk band. The thing that really made these two albums stick for me is, yes, it's punk. I love that. Yes, the lyrics are depressing. They're sad. I relate to that. Yes, the guitar is great and technically proficient as well, but the harmony and the melody are what stand out to me. When I say harmony, I just mean a lot of the songs end up being in harmonic minor, and I am a sucker for harmonic minor. What that means, you have your standard minor key, and in a natural minor scale, the 5 chord would be minor. So if you're in an A minor key, the 5 would be E minor. But in harmonic minor, you raise the 7th scale step by half step, so now you have a sharp 7, which is a half step away from the octave or the root. And that means when you play the 5 chord, in this case E minor, it now becomes E major. And that leading tone is just begging to resolve to the root. It creates such an amazing sound. It creates such this strong resolution. And I am a sucker for harmonic minor. Give me more harmonic minor. I love it. So I am a sucker for that. That sells me whenever a band uses harmonic minor. I'm in love with it. But then we get to the melody. I think his name is Anthony, the singer of the band, has such a good ear for melody. That is what stuck out to me. I find myself humming these songs. I find myself wanting to harmonize the entire song. The melodies are so well formulated, they are begging to be harmonized to. They are begging for harmony to be added on top, below, all over. They just need to be harmonized because they are so well formulated. And who doesn't like a good melody? Who doesn't like a good melody that you hum, that you want to sing along to, that you almost don't have the option but to sing along and hum along to it? And then add on top of it the bummer lyrics about failed relationships, about self-loathing, about depression. It just works really well, especially if you are feeling bummed out and angsty which maybe I have been. Who knows? Who knows? Who can say? Who can say who's feeling stressed out and bummed out and dealing with stuff? Not me. The thing that's even more impressive about all of this, Bayside has been around for 20 years. It seems incredibly rare that a band is able to be around for 2 decades and then put out new albums that are some of their best work. I have gone back and listened to the entirety of the Bayside discography. I think these are my 2 favorite albums from them. Number 3 would probably be Killing Time, and then number 4 would be, what is it, Sirens or something? It's whatever the one that blew up with Devotions and Desires on it. That would be my number 4. But it's incredible. 20 years in, still putting out some of the best work they've ever done. If you're in a sad boy or sad girl mood, if you like minor songs, if you like incredible guitar playing, check out Bayside. Tremendously underrated. I went back to watch one of the music videos. I think it was off Interrobang, which came out 5 years ago. The video only had like 250,000 views. It should have 250 million views. It is such a good song. Underrated. Tremendously underrated. Go check out Bayside. 100% recommend. I am a huge convert. Love it. All right, that is going to wrap up this week's episode. I hope this week's episode was a bit more lighthearted, a bit more positive than last week's. I hope you got something out of this because I know you could be doing anything with your time. You could be listening to some music. You could be watching a movie, reading a book, hanging with family, going for a walk, anything. The fact that you choose to spend any amount of your day watching or listening to me really does mean a lot to me, and I try not to squander that. I try to make these as fun for you as I can, and I hope you got something out of it. I hope you have an amazing Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Next Sunday, I will be back. I will be talking at you, with you, about you. I love you. Bye-bye. Whoa, whoa, boop.
This has been a Geeks Rising production. Your executive producer is Bandrew Scott. For more information, head over to www.geeksrising.com.